we are recording to the cloud. I'm going to what I want to do first. You know that we always start off with a poll. So we're going to do the same as we have. And then after that, there's 4 poll questions. You should give one answer to each one. It's multiple choice, as you've usually had. And then I will share after everybody has a chance to answer the poll, I will share the results. After that, Carol will go over our membership and hub, and Indrani will go over planning, budgeting, and year-end reporting. And I will go over missing documents, registry research, search tools, and if you end up walking into a situation where the branch has lost its charitable status, how to correct that. And then Sharon will go over combining branches and branch dissolution. Now, as we've done in the past, we have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Use the chat function to put in your questions as we go, so we capture your question to discuss afterwards. There may be more questions while we are in the discussion, but that will allow us to really go through the presentation first and then have a really good discussion after that. This is being recorded, as you just heard, and we will be posting the recording hopefully in the next week. Sometimes it takes a while to get it up there with the web team. We will post the PowerPoint, and we also will post documents that Sharon will discuss. So that is available. That branch structure pamphlet is really valuable, and it's another resource. So let's start the poll. It takes a couple minutes maybe to do. Can you all see it?
Uh-huh. Yes. Yes. Survey.
All right. Is everybody about done?
Yes.
All right. And poll. Can you see these are the results? So if we look, the first question was how many members in your branch? Looks like the bulk are coming in 31,260. But we have a few, 4 who are over 120. So we have some good sized branches here. On question 2, what is the status of your membership? So this is good. We've got growing and stable is the largest number. 15% is membership is declining. And in this category, this is where Sharon comes in very, very helpful and supportive on how to reverse that or deal with it. Okay, we also, question was, does your branch have a formal budget process? So it looks like, you know, the both are yes, and discussions on what they do. I like the fact that we have relatively few not doing it. So that's good. Good planning and budgeting. You have a better shot of reaching your goals if you plan for them. And 4, does your branch maintain a permanent file? So we do have some might not know what a permanent file is. That is an accounting, it is an audit term used. It's part of the documentations if you're doing audits. But what it really means, a branch permanent file would include their founding documents, their key government documents like the determination letter and past filings for at least 7 years. If you have any agreements, leases, contracts, you would want to include those. So, any questions about the results? Well, you're going to enjoy our first.
Video or audio?
Well, I am going to share with you our PowerPoint. And again, it may look dense. There's a lot of references on it, but this is a reference tool for you. You don't have to really look at everything or understand and memorize everything. The idea behind doing this is to post it in the branch tools, peer group, finance location on the AUW California website, so you can go get it when and if you need it. So I'm going to bring this up. Do. Can you see that fairly easily?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Good. So that's our agenda, as I discussed. Those were our poll questions. And now we have Carol McMillan is going to go over membership questions using the hub particularly, and what the dues are and the types of dues. And Laura, I see you have a question, but I don't know if you came in here later. We're trying to have all the questions in the chat function so we can go over them near the end. As soon as we do the presentation.
I have a question in the chat.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Carol.
All right. So just first of all, a couple of quick review here on membership. As you know, the national dues went up by $2 effective the 1st of April. So this week, student dues are still $18.81 for students that are not at a university or college that's affiliated with AUW. The lifetime dues are 20 times the national dues, and so they did go up to reflect the $2 membership increase. All of those national dues are fully tax deductible. Now, many of you may have seen that the state is proposing a dues increase as well, and that is going to be the election has just been announced. It doesn't open until later this month, and the results will be in May, and that will be, if it passes, it will be effective for the new fiscal year beginning the 1st of July. So we still need to wait and see how that turns out. I'll talk about all of these things a little bit more as we go through. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So some of you may have changed your branch dues, and if so, that should have been submitted to National by the 1st of April so that the hub could reflect the new branch dues. So if you didn't do that right away, please contact National at either connect at auw.org or Angela Cooper, Cooper A at auw.org, and ask them to change your branch dues as soon as possible. Okay, next slide. Now, there's some special membership categories. You may have people like myself who are dual members. So they're members of multiple branches. And in my case, I'm actually a member of 2 states because I moved to California relatively recently, and I've stayed connected to my old branch. So what I have to do is to use the hub myself to take care of all of my memberships. So if they don't want to use the hub, then they have to send a check to the dual branches so that the dual branch then can put them in as being affiliated with that branch as well as their primary branch. If you have if you have paid life members, so people who have done that 20 times the national dues, the state and branch dues do still apply. You'll need to inform them of what the state and branch dues are. You may have what we call honorary life members, and those are members who have had 50 years of continuous membership. So they no longer pay national or state dues, and whether or not they pay branch dues is really up to you. If you have members that joined in 1975 or earlier, and they've had continuous membership, they would be eligible to be honorary life members. And you need to let National know that, because they'll send them a nice certificate and actually change their status on the branch roster. So be aware of that if you have people that are sort of approaching that level. Next slide. Now, Shape the Future. This is important because it's really, first of all, it's a great way to sort of give people an extra perk for joining, but it also helps the branch. So Shape the Future means that people who join at an event, a branch meeting or some other event, they pay 50% of the national dues, which that would now be $37. And when you're entering them in the hub, there's a box for a coupon code, and the coupon code is STFF26. So Shape the Future fiscal year 26. And one of the other great things is that for every 2 Shape the Future members, the branch earns a free national membership up to 3 for the fiscal year. And so just to give you an example, down at the bottom of the slide, I've done a couple of screenshots. So what I do on the national site, I just put in the search box, Shape the Future, and it brings me to a little explanation of Shape the Future that looks kind of like the right-hand box at the bottom. And on that box, you have 2 buttons. One is for a status report. In other words, how many free memberships do you have? And then also a redemption form. So to redeem the free memberships, you have to fill out a paper form and send that in, or create it as a PDF and email it in. On the left-hand side, I just took a little screenshot of a part of the report, the status report, and so you can see here that we have 5 branches, and I started with Beach Cities because I know that's Kathy's branch. But what was really pleasing to me was to see, of all these branches that I picked, there's a lot of new members. That's what the first column is, the number of new members that they've recruited. And so you can see that Beach Cities had 5 new members. That means they have 2 free memberships. And then the ones that we've got a couple here that have over 20 new members. So they maxed out their free memberships at 3. But that's an important thing to do. Help, it's help for sure. You can use it to recognize someone, or I know sometimes to say, if you pay your dues on time, there's a drawing, and of the people that paid on time, we'll give one free membership, something like that. So do keep that in mind. And remember that anything that's earned in this fiscal year has to be used in the fiscal year. So as people are renewing, you'll want to be aware of Shape the Future. Okay, next slide. Now, student members, and this was an interesting little bit of research for me. There are 33, I think, colleges and universities in California that are affiliated with AUW. Most of the University of California branches, quite a lot of California state universities, and other colleges, some private colleges as well. So if a student is a student at one of those affiliated university, their national membership is free. And they still pay state dues of $10. And again, the branch dues are up to you. And again, there's a coupon code, and it's, in this case, CU student FY26, and graduate students are CU grad student FY26. And I do see there's one question here that I'm just catching in the chat, that it's because the fiscal year that's going to be starting on July 1st is the fiscal year 26. So that's why the number changes. Last year it was STFFY 25. And so now we're moving on into 26. And again, if the student is not at an affiliated college or university, the national dues are still $18.81. That's the year AUW was founded, of course, and the state dues are $10. All right, next. So we do recommend that you encourage your members to renew through the hub, so that National will send them a reminder, and then you can kind of follow along, you or the membership chair, or some of a little bit of each, to see how it's going. But we're finding, certainly in the branch that I'm in, we have had people joining quite different times through the year. I would say at this point, probably 60 or 70% of our members are still, their membership is expiring at the end of June, but we have people in all other months. And so you want to kind of keep track of it on an ongoing basis. The National sends a reminder 1 month prior to the date of expiration, then the month of expiration, then the month after expiration, and then another 2 months later, because if you remember, the grace period is 3 months from the date that their membership expired. And then their status will be shown on your roster accordingly. That if they're current, it's because they're within 12 months of their joiner start date. And if they're in the grace period, they're still on the list, and they're in that 3-month period where we're not dropping them from the files, but hoping that they will re-up their membership. If they renew early, then they'll be shown as future. So that gives you a little bit of an overview of how membership is calculated, and it certainly seems that more and more people are getting comfortable with using the online method, and that's going pretty well. All right, I think that's it for me, right?
No, next slide.
Oh, here. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
If members do pay by check. Yes, that's right. And I gave you a few pictures coming up here. So if they do pay by check, you can go to the renewals and donations in Manage the Branch roster, and you can take both dues and anybody who wishes to donate to AUW Greatest Needs Fund. And after all the selections are complete, download, review the worksheet, And if it's correct, then you go ahead and click Pay Now. If it doesn't appear to be correct, don't click Pay Now, but send an email describing your situation to Connect. And that seems to be the way to handle that. And if you go to the next slide, you can see this is just this is a screenshot of a branch roster without the names. If it carried over to the left, there would be the names of the people. And just to show you what those little pencil icons. So you have the pencil icon for the donation amount and the pencil icon for national dues. So that I think, oh yes, and if members do wish to contribute to other national funds, they can do so either through the branch AUW fund share or mail a check directly to national. The only thing that can be processed on the hub is that broader greatest needs fund, which obviously gives national the greatest flexibility in terms of how to use those funds. Okay, and I can see we have a few more questions on the hub, but we'll come back to those after we've finished the rest of the program.
Thank you. All right, we have Johnny's up next.
Mhm. Okay, planning and budgeting. Budgeting and planning is very important, as we all know, to run the branch or state anywhere. Budget planning is very important. Before preparing a budget for fiscal year 25-26, which is coming pretty soon, conduct a thorough review of the branch's financial position, strategic goals, past performances, to ensure the budget aligns with the mission and resource allocation. And it is very important because funding maybe will not come that easily because of the current financial situation in the country. Review 2 years revenue and expenses, simplify strategic goals. Kathy, next slide, please. Determine timeline. It is a very important. Set a target date for board approval and allow sufficient time for each step, including review and discussion. Agree on budget approach. Discuss and agree on the budget approach, including the level of detail, assumptions, and how much uncertainty can be included. Forecast future income and expenses, which is very important. Estimate future income based on the current fundraising revenue activities, as well as potential new activities. Identify variable expenses. Consider variable expenses that may fluctuate throughout the year and plan accordingly. Next slide. Set fundraising target. Establish clear and achievable fundraising target that align with AUW mission and branches project needs. Budgeting. Develop a draft budget and review. So far, we only discussed about planning. Now, actual budget process will take place. Develop a draft budget and review. Determine the cost required to achieve program goals and organizational objectives such as increased membership, project income based on current fundraising and revenue activities, as well as potential new activities. Review the draft budget. Verify that draft budget meets the program and organizational goals and review all assumptions. Next slide. Make adjustment to the budget based on goals, capacity, and the need to match income and expenses. Present the budget to board. Present the draft budget to board for review and feedback, and obtain the board approval present the final budget to board for approval. Maybe some branches like my branch, Torrance branch, we get the approval from the membership also. If that is required, then process needs to be start a little bit earlier. Next slide has a sample budget worksheet. Next slide. This is the sample budget worksheet, and this is a statement of activities, especially for the 501c3 branches, but 501c4 branches only will be difference is the fundraising, because their fundraising, that has to be directly go to a special project fund, SPF, special project fund. If donor needs the deductible from their tax return. And also, that is the only difference will be 501c3 and 501c4. Okay, next slide, which will be the year-end reporting. Why it is important? Year-end reporting is very important. Closing the process, finalizing the branch financial statement for current fiscal year, and accuracy is must. And because this final number will go to the tax return. Accuracy and compliance is very important. And financial health provides a clear picture of the branch financial performance position, allowing for better decision making. Next slide, Kathy. And tax reporting facilitates accurate tax reporting and compliance with tax obligations, like filing Form 990 or 990EZ or 990N for Internal Revenue Service. And California state, same thing, Form 199 or 199N. Then California RRF one, that is the registration for charitable organization, charitable renewal, or CTTR is the annual treasurer report, and CTNRP2 is NRP2 is for your raffle, but raffle is calendar year, and that needs to be filed the following year before by February 1st. These are the very important filing, and that's why final number is very important. And please review your final number before filing the tax return. Future planning provides a solid foundation for future financial planning and budgeting from the current fiscal year actual. Next slide. These are the sample. I'm sure all branch finance officers are already doing. These are the sample of year-end financial, year-end statement of activity reports for the revenue and expenses. And next slide, Kathy, next slide will be the financial position, which is the cash, what was your starting cash, and what you have ended up with the final cash, and either you have plus or you are going negative. That is a very important to keep in mind when you will do the budget. And I think that's for me. And now Kathy will talk about missing documents.
Yes, starting off with this. Again, you may never have a need to access this slide deck on the AUW California website, but if you do, this is telling you where to go to find this information. And I took several paths. I was doing exploration on my own because I get questions into the CFO email address, and people are saying, I get questions. I can't find this document, or I'm not sure what this means. And so this is where I decided to include this in our presentation this month, because I think the more you know where to look to solve problems, the easier it will be for you to do so. Just taking, for example, a missing determination letter, or you want to get a copy, you know, a nice clean copy to provide someone who wants to donate to the branch or one of the AEUW programs like Tech Trek. You hit on this, the determination, as it said, it's out of the IRS, and the 990 series, these databases are federal. So you're going to a federal database and they can provide you a copy. So if you said, I want a determination letter, you hit this, you can get one in a couple of minutes. So I wanted to make it easy so it's not daunting if you look at these documents and you see something's missing and somebody's asking for something, you're not panicking about where to find it. So I'm going over this, the determination. This link is going to give you multiple databases you can search. If you're not sure about what your branch entity number is, if you go in and request an entity status letter and use your branch name to do the search, it'll come back with that number. There's probably other ways to get it, but I thought this was fairly quick. I've had questions. I don't know if my branch is incorporated or not. I'm getting questions about, you know, why I haven't filed a statement of information, which is only required of corporations. And then how can I find my branch affiliation formation documents? And that's a common one too. Well, every branch is an affiliate of AEUW National, as well as AEUW California is also affiliate of National. But you to get these documents that are source documents, formation documents, you do have to go to National. So again, this is contacting Angela Cooper down here, or the same email that was connect@aeuw.org that Carol listed for her membership. So these are the things we're going to talk about. When we talk about finding this type of information, these are the lookups. When you hit this, you copy this and paste it into your browser, you're going to get that. If this, you can even look up, and I did this, I did this for Beach Cities because I had been treasurer there. Pub 78 is listing tax-deductible charitable organizations, and they will tell you, is this organization, if a donor donates money to this organization, is the donation tax-deductible? So if you actually print it out, it says yes or no. So for Beach Cities, it said yes, because it's a 501c3, and it actually lists in detail on the determination letter as well whether those donations are tax deductible, and it gives some detail on that determination letter. So if you had someone who is highly interested in donating but wanted to make sure, they can do this research themselves, but if they're not really, they don't know that, you can give them copies of what you find on these databases. If you are trying to find a copy of a prior 990 or 990Ns, these are two different databases. So if you're asking National to do your 990N, you can, you know, once the due date is passed, you can go into this website and actually print out a copy on the 990N. And of course, you probably, since you are doing a 990, if that is what is required for your branch, you can maintain a copy. But if you wanted prior ones, you're going to find them here. Hopefully we're not looking at automatic revocation of exemption list. It's losing your charitable status. And here's the determination letters. Here is what you would see. If you click on that, you come up with this. And you click on tax exempt organizations. That's really what you're going for in that category. And again, they list these items that you can look up. You click on that link. This is a little, it duplicates. You're clicking twice to get down into this area, but that's probably a function because they're trying to give tips and other things. So again, you're looking at what they do. You search. This is, you're clicking on to search it, but they also have on this page tips and other items. This is where you're actually going in to select the database. So if you want a determination letter, if you want a 990N, select that. That what you're doing here is narrowing down the search to get results back faster and make it easier for them to give you a result. If you're saying, I'm using the employee identification number, that's the federal EIN, and you would enter that number in, again, you want to narrow it down. You definitely want to put in the state, because the feds would be looking at all 50 states and the territories, and it could take a while. And because they're going to see multiple names that may be similar. So enter the city as well and click search, and you will get a result. And what I've got is just the top have that. Okay, so you will get that result. You will, like I did the determination letter. Determination letter gave a large source of information, a lot of information that is useful. Now, this is the branch entity number. As I said, if you go in and get an entity status letter, now we're going into state agencies. This is going to be the Franchise Tax Board.ci.gov, and you're asking for an entity status letter. If you don't know it, you can't enter the entity number. If you were trying to get, if you knew your entity number, just was looking for a status letter, you put that in and it's going to pop up really quickly. But if you don't know it, if you can enter your branch number, so name, and when the results are displayed, though, the entity number will be displayed. So that's the way to get at it. So here's the entity. You're going to say check status. And here it gives the search. Instead of doing entity ID, you click by name. And you can do by partial name as well. But if you feel you've got the exact name, you can put that in. If you have multiple names, you could put in partial names, so they should bring up any name that is similar. And then you will get that status letter, and hopefully it says you're in good standing, you're current with your filings, etc. And then it will have the entity number in there. Now, I have had questions here. Is your branch incorporated? Usually, if your branch is incorporated, it has Inc. in the name, but let's say you really want to check on that status. This is also a great registry to look up for lots of things. So I recommend you go in and look at it if you just want to see more about, the filings history of your branch. So you cut and paste this. You can enter the charity registration number. That's a good number that works. I've used the FEIN as well, or the corporate or organizational number, but only one. It seems to really get confused if it sees more than two numbers. Select charity for program type. Again, you're narrowing down the database. Even in the state of California only, you want to give as much information, such as county, city, state, and zip code. Then the results will display your branch name. Click on it, and a detailed report will be displayed. And at the top of that report is going to, you've got a little line that says entity type, and it will say whether you're a corporation. Again, that satisfies it for this. This is what you're seeing. This is what you're inputting. What you pick one of these numbers. The program type is charity. You don't need to put all of this in, but you want to put in location. And then you search. And this is one that's been filled out with the charity and some numbers. And here's what, this is the top half of what comes back. And if you look here, entity type for this speech says, it says unincorporated associate. So it's going to, it says it's current renewal, the next renewal date, the next deadline is November 2025. It tells the last one and gives the mailing. All this filings and correspondence is very detailed and interesting. So if you want to go in there and see all the filings that have come in before, any, you applied for a raffle, you had some communication, you can go in here and this will dump that out. You click on the individual item and you can see copies. So that's a valuable research tool. Now you hit something that hope nobody has to go through, but what if your branch charitable status has been suspended? You get a notice, you haven't, and you don't know, if you don't know why, you can call the California Department of Justice and talk to somebody during business hours or leave a message for them to tell you specifically why. But you can also probably go into that prior database that I just showed you, and they might see notices and communications as well. How to solve it? Well, this California Department, the DOJ, has a nice series of webinars to cover a lot of topics, and this is one of them.
Want to come up here? Yeah.
So here, you would click on this, and you're going to see all these various. But one of them is delinquency webinar, and it'll provide step-by-step instructions for remedying a delinquent status. And it really is very clear, very detailed enough. It's not confusing. I thought it was very a good webinar on how to clear that status deficiency. And so you can look at that. You can see some others that might be of interest for you. It takes about 17 minutes to watch this particular one. You do have to watch a short commercial, but it wasn't too bad. And it was quick and well done. Here are some of the others. There's several of them. But I thought, having a webinar on the annual registration renewal, completing CTTR1, registry resources, and website navigation is useful. You want to decide to do raffles. That goes over it in detail. You also have the information that has been provided by the Finance Committee, but this also is direct from the Department of Justice. Initial request, delinquency, and dissolution and withdrawal, what you would have to do if your branch dissolved with the state. So we thought that was, this is again a resource. You may never ever have to use any of it, but if you do, you know where to go. And if you're curious, you go up to some of that registry search tool, you may find out a lot, and you can see what's been filed, and that can help you know more about the history of your branch and answer any questions people might have. All right, I am going to turn it over to Sharon, who's going to go over the branch consolidating dismantlement process.
So first of all, I'd like to say, branches that are struggling, there is a plethora of information available to you on the AAUW California website, as well as via the members of the California State Board. Please do not just disband your branch. Please reach out to those of us on the State Board that are part of the Branch Development Committee. I have been doing branch support for probably a decade, and there are branches that reached out to us, and we were able to help them through the process of figuring out you really only need, as Kathy or one of the previous presenters mentioned, you need an administrator, you need a financial person, and you need somebody to take minutes. And all of us are have college experience, so probably pretty much anyone should be able to take minutes. So then, as far as branch support, what else can we provide? We can help you revitalize, we can help you figure out how to restructure your bylaws so that you're not required to elect 12 people and have 15 programs during the year and all these other things that some branches have found themselves in trouble with. On the other hand, if you do find that your branch really is struggling and you feel like you're not going to be able to continue working as a branch, then there is a process for consolidation. Branches always want to know how they merge. National does not use the term merge. if your branch is really at the point where it's struggling so badly that you think you need to consolidate with a nearby branch, you are going to need to do the disbandment process. So Kathy, I don't know if you can post the disbandment form at this point, or if you want to go on to the next slide.
Why don't I display that form at the end of it, unless, do you want to go over it in detail?
I just want to show people what
Okay,
is the process. And by the way, there is an entire packet of information that will be included in this document that will be posted in the peer group that talks about the various ways that one can consolidate. This is the form that National requires for everybody, and can you increase the size of that? Thank you, Kathy. So if the affiliate needs to disband at, heaven forbid, this is something you have to do. This is the process you need to go through. And it even asks you if you've spoken to state leaders or national staff. But after going through everything, what we suggest at the state level is sending a letter via snail mail to every paid member, explaining what you're going to be missing if your branch disbands, who's going to cover your Tech Track schools, who's going to handle your local scholarships, etc. And even if you figure out, okay, we're not going to be able to do this, then you go through this process and you have a meeting where everybody needs to vote. You can do an electronic vote, but you need to have a record. All of the minutes of the meeting where people have voted in person and or the electronic voting via email, those need to be sent along with this disbandment form to AAUW National. But we at California are keeping track of all these forms and reviewing them. So my suggestion is, Kathy, you can go back to the other slide, thank you, that you send the forms to branch support at aauw-ca.org. We will go over the forms and we will send them to National so that we maintain a copy of what has been done, and National will let us know, as well as the branch that is filing the disbandment forms, if they have approved it. Now, if you are actually going to disband, we have over 100 branches here in California. There's likely a nearby branch that might be willing to have your members be transferred. On that disbandment form, you can ask AAUW National to transfer the members to branch XYZ from your branch ABC. You can also ask them to file your final 990 form. You have to put that on the dissolution or the disbandment form. Kathy, you want to go to the next slide, please? One of the things that we suggest strongly that you do is the branch that's disbanding and the branch most of your members will probably go into should get together. Their boards should have a meeting and hash out, negotiate a memorandum of understanding, talking about where the rest of your funds will go from Tech Track, where the rest of your scholarship money will go. And if the funds are at SPF, you need to be able to tell SPF that you are going to have those funds changed from your branch ABC, and they are now going to be for branch XYZ. You might want to also discuss board composition, where you're going to have meetings. If it's going to be, you're going to have one meeting somewhere near that disbanding branch. If the interest groups, if they're going to maintain their own book group, or if you're going to have them join book groups in the branch to which they're consolidating. All of those things should be hashed out and written into a memorandum of understanding. And again, when you reach out to branch support, we can submit to you the disbandment form. We can show you sample MOUs that have been done by other branches. There's one other thing that's important to note, and I don't know if that's on the next slide, Kathy.
No, we.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you are indeed disbanding and you want your branch, somehow your branch name to remain, AAUW California does not want 6 different cities' names as the name of the branch. So you're not going to have branch ABC, DEF, H, and so forth. So we're going to talk about maybe having a change of name, because this is what happened with Los Altos Hills and Palo Alto last year or 2 years ago. They decided that it was much more descriptive to have their name be Silicon Valley. AAUW National has a name change form that will also be sent to you by those on the branch support committee at the state. And you can submit that name change form along with the branch disbandment. All of those forms we ask that you send to the AAUW California office. And as I said, we review them, and then we will submit them to National and maintain copies of them in our disbanded name change folders so that AAUW California knows who's on first. With regard to questions about the MOU, we maintain those MOUs at AAUW California, but don't submit them to National. That's not something they're going to need to have. I don't know if there are any other questions with that regard, but please don't give up. Call us, email us, text us, send a carrier pigeon. Don't just disband.
All right. And as I said earlier, that pamphlet that goes over, this is just one page out of that pamphlet. And, this is also describing what's in the pamphlet, but that page will be posted in the documents in the peer group finance section on AUW California's website. So you will have both that disbandment document and the pamphlet up there on it, as well as these slides.
It's very explanatory.
Yes.
And, with regard to what happens, National will take care of changing their website. And once we know at AAUW California that a branch has disbanded and or changed its name, we will notify the web team that that has been approved by National. So we're trying to maintain documents. One other thing that I forgot to mention, branch documents from a disbanded branch. AAUW National is suggesting that you contact their archivist. Actually, the easiest thing to do is ask a historic society if they might be willing to hold your documents, or some other way of holding the branch scrapbooks and other documents that you might like to have for historical purposes. But again, we will help you with any of your questions.
Okay. So
Great.
now.
So just in terms of, we have some good questions, but one that I'll answer right away is yes, the PowerPoint, as well as the documents that Kathy mentioned and the recording of this session will all be posted to the peer group section of the AUW California website. So that's why Kathy was showing you all those links. And I think from the posted document, you'll be able to use the links directly. So let's see. Laura, I know you have
Carol, I would mention that if you go to the AAUW California website and then go to branch tools,
yes,
that's where you have to scroll down to get to the peer group. And you also have to, there's a full section under finance.
yes, and we are constantly, this is probably the first of these webinars that we've done in a while that we haven't gone back and forth into the finance tools, because there is a lot there, and we'll I think see some of that in the questions. So, Laura, I see your hand is up and you have a couple of other questions in here. You have something in addition to, what you posted in the chat?
Yes, one of them, no, the question's in the chat. One of them is, what do you mean by permanent file? Is that hard copy? Is it soft copy on a server? What are your recommendations? Because people move, houses get cleaned out, they don't
Right.
have
You know,
storage for stuff. How is that handled?
probably the best thing is to have it on the electronic.
Mhm.
You may have some paper copies. You may want to have paper copies, or if the branch has really been around for a long time, some of those documents, those founding documents, your association agreements with National, original determination letter, might not have been something that was copied onto to get an electronic version, but they may be paper and they may be handed around. But you can
No,
also
I mean,
do,
like all of the forms, you have to, the CTF, all of those things, okay? So
yes,
what?
you need to save your tax returns for 7 years. And so a lot of those forms do have a lengthy storage time, but the founding documents, I refer to them as a permanent file because you need them always.
Always.
You know, yes, you were
I
going to use them.
understand that part. And so maybe the library will take those. If you don't have a place for those, where do those go? They're not safe at an individual's house. You have fires, you have a lot of things that can happen.
Right. Well,
So-
what you can do if you have them, if you have a Google Docs file that you can set up at your branch level, you can have it there where it can be accessed. And the other thing is to put it on a memory disk, stick, and have electronic versions of it, multiple electronic versions that are passed to subsequent officers who can then look up any document that they need. But you
It's just
do
very
need,
hard with the changing officers and roles and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And not having a spot or an office or anything where stuff is kept. Okay,
Mhm.
it's really challenging to manage the maintenance of those documents, even the tax stuff, because people forget passwords. They don't know where the link is. That person closed their account. It's not easy. I actually think, okay, my opinion is that
Mhm.
AAUW California should probably have some kind of archivist, what you want to call it, vault, where branches can place that information that they maintain. Okay, just a suggestion, because relying on individuals is a very loosey-goosey way to be able to manage that stuff.
Right.
That's true.
That is true, and we can ask how AEW California would manage that. Hopefully you all vote for the dues increase, because it's that sort of thing that costs money and has to be managed at the state level. But they, if they could provide a storage slot that was constantly open and accessible by branch members, that would have to be configured and developed at the top level. And we've been living off that $20 a year
Right. Okay, but just a
membership dues.
suggestion,
But that's
because right
some
now,
way that could create a Google Docs branch level.
right, where you have a succession method for being able to manage it, which really
Yeah,
doesn't exist at
you're
the branch
asking the
level.
state to manage it versus the branch.
Individuals, yes, because that changes, they die, they get sick, who knows where the stuff went. Okay,
That same thing happens at the state level. So they
Oh,
would
okay.
have to come up with a method that is enduring and hands it off to subsequent.
I have a question. I have a question here. We have a safety deposit box at the bank where we bank. And since our chapter is 41 years old, we have a paper copy of how it all got started. And a good place to put it is in the safety deposit box at the bank. And that way, nobody has to carry it around. Nobody has to worry about it. And it's safe. That's what we did.
That's a
Oh,
good
good.
suggestion.
Good
Well, we
suggestion.
don't actually
certain
have any
files.
safe deposit
Certainly those
boxes in
files.
Glendale. I
Yeah,
haven't found any safe deposit boxes. They've taken them pretty much out of all of the banks here in Glendale, because I had
Oh.
been looking for some anyway, so, but.
Uh-oh. Well, it was a thought.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
it
know,
might
that-
work for some branches,
Yes.
but, you know, if, we'll see what happens with the dues before we ask.
Okay, and okay,
Okay.
my other
Another thing,
question
but
is,
that's a good suggestion on the safety deposit box, especially for those precious permanent documents that are so old.
Well, and
I
my
want
other
to
question
see that-
is, when you transfer money through the receiving branch, are there tax implications for them in terms of reporting things like revenue? Because you know, you've got that thing for over $50,000, whether or not they can file the, I guess, I don't know whether it's the 990N, there are different things that they have to file. So
Mhm.
if you give them a check for your money, the balance that you have in your account, is that included for them in terms of revenue, which might push them over the $50,000 mark? How does that?
Well,
money
the
transfer
combined, it's possible the combined entity would end up in that position. So, yeah,
Kathy, could I also,
you've got to record that in the year that it transferred. However, particularly if it's a 501c3 and it's going to put the funds in its own account, but if the branch has been using SPF for their fundraising, you're just telling SPF move it between these two branches.
Yeah, I understand that for
never-
SPF. I'm talking about a branch checking account.
That's what I'm saying. It has to go through the branch checking accounts. If it went to the branch checking accounts, yeah. If it was that significant amount, you've got revenue that year that could exceed the $50,000.
Well, I mean, you know, because you already have their revenue, what they brought in, and now you're giving them maybe $20,000 or $30,000 that you had in your checking account. So this changes their tax status.
It doesn't change their tax status. It changed the reporting
The
requirement.
reporting requirements.
Yes.
But would that be included as revenue on their side when that's done?
I would think so, because you're recording receipt
Right.
of funds to be used for the AUW branch missions, just like it was in the other branch.
Okay,
And so that was a donation. If the donation is being recorded in the branch account, then it becomes revenue. If it is just shifting accounts within SPF, it is not. And remember,
right, I understand that.
yeah, when you're like, if you set up your Tech Track program and all the checks are made out to SPF and they
Right.
go into SPF, you do not record that revenue. It
Right.
just goes through your
That's
bank
correct,
account. But
yeah.
if it goes through, you're going to have to account for anything that's going in and out of your bank account.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Kathy, could I mention also that branches with a lot of paper documents might want to scan them so that they have them in, you know, in a Google Doc or some electronic form rather than just maintaining the original tissue paper.
Yeah, no, that is always good. Now, again, like a determination letter, you can get it on the web. So
Mhm.
it's just, but if you want to keep that in a permanent file, just so everything's in one location, so somebody has that at their hand should
Right.
they need it. Yeah, I would certainly get it in electronic format whenever possible. And now it is possible. But you're right, you will always have, and the branches have always had succession issues when they're transferring from one person to the next. And, you know, that's gone on, I guess, since 1881. So,
And before that, I'm sure.
yeah.
Yes. All right, well, let's deal with a few more of these rather other questions. Early on, Jan asked, is QuickBooks required for branches? And no, it's not required, but I think a lot of branches do use QuickBooks or Quicken.
Quicken, probably.
Something like that to keep track of you know, their income and expenses. And branches that are 501c3, be sure you know about the resource TechSoup, TechSoup, which provides software to 501c3 organizations at greatly reduced prices. And I think the QuickBooks is fairly reasonable in that. So that, see here.
Carol,
Yeah.
I had a question because I'm not sure that it requires 50 years of continuous service. I think it's 50 years, but it doesn't necessarily have to be continuous for honorary life members.
I am not sure. I have heard it that it is continuous, but in any case, I think if you have anybody that is approaching that, in order to get their status changed, you do need to send it to national. So if you have somebody who's, they had 10 years and then they were out for 5 years and now they have another
Mhm.
40 years, that absolutely check that.
National will do that research.
Yes, exactly. So Margot, you asked a question, where do we find the Shape the Future numbers of new members? And if you could clarify that, please. Is it, how do you know? And by the way, I do see someone suggested that the chart that's currently there does say 23 to 24, and so it does need to be updated. And I will actually get back to National about that to get the updated list. But
List
The
of the
chart I
current
was
year.
looking at was the one that you had on the presentation. And it looked very similar to the thing we got today from National, which gave us our member numbers. But I didn't see
Oh.
anything on that one that told us how many new ones we had, and so how many free ones, free national memberships we got. Where do I find that list that you showed?
Okay, so what?
You want me to go
and
back to that slide?
Can you go back to that slide? So as I said, what I do is you can kind of scroll down through the membership section, but what I do is just in the search box at the top of the national website, I put Shape the Future. And it will give you a kind of an explanation of how it works. And if you get down to the bottom, you get this little thing that says here, click this to get the status report. And then to the left, you can see that's a little snip of the status report.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's saying, and the first column, the left-hand column is the number of new members. And so then the right-hand column is the number of eligible, the number of free memberships that the branch has earned. And in order to use those, to kind of cash that in, you click on the little orange button that says redemption form, and that'll pull up just a Word document that you can fill in with the names and addresses of who, and that you have to just send in and just keep track to make sure that they actually get renewed or added.
But that's on the national website.
That's on the national website.
Okay,
And
okay.
right now, as someone pointed out, the numbers that are on here, that is from the web. I checked it actually while the session was going on. This is the people that were added in 23 to 24. So there should be a new list, and I'm sure there will be, because this all has to be used before the end of June.
I was also going to suggest to Kathy Ford, some of us are just learning how to be finance officers for our branches. So if she's looking for somebody to go to the state level, she might want to look at some of the former finance officers who already understand kind of how the system works. I mean, in a couple of years, I might be willing to go to the state level, but right now I'm the branch finance
Right.
officer, and it's kind of overwhelming at this new state.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
it is.
Right, no, I agree. We're looking at the Tech Trek treasurers have all been trained on QuickBooks Online to put all their transactions, when they receive the funds from the branches, and then they record
Yes.
those and
Yeah.
send them on to
Yeah.
SPF. You get those reports back if you've done Tech Trek treasury functions.
Yeah.
They have been trained on QuickBooks Online, although in more restricted areas to do
Yeah.
the camp transactions. So they have it. I would love to take the financial liaison because she is very strong in accounting, but probably gets slapped, had my hand slapped by Mary Isaac for taking her top finance person. But no, it is. I think we're really happy, though. We thought also you might know people. If you said, hey, the person I replaced seemed to have a pretty good idea. if you can talk to that prior finance officer, that would be great. You know, some people step into the position and they've had heavy accounting experience, so it doesn't seem as challenging to them as it is to somebody who says, okay, I manage my finances at home. If someone tells me what to do, I can get this going. But it is a real challenge if you haven't done it before, and that's not been your career in the past. So yeah,
Speaking
no,
of,
understood.
speaking of trying to get a new financial officer,
Mhm.
we're having the same problem in my branch.
Yes.
No one wants to do the treasurer's job. And I can't understand why, because I think it's fun.
Yeah.
But if I'm to step down, it's going to be a big hassle because no one knows what the heck is going on, and I can only tell them so much.
Right.
Is it possible to stay one more year rather than leave after 2?
You might be able to go to consecutive. I think you can go, it depends on your bylaws, but generally you can go 2 consecutive terms. If you've got a 2-year term,
Okay.
you can
Yes.
do that. It's when
Yes.
you're trying to hit the 5th year. And this is
Oh.
particularly on finance, because unless if your branch has a review every year and everybody looks at, you know, what you recorded and bank statements and
Yes.
just that comparison, they may want to make sure that somebody is looking into it and seeing.
Seeing that I'm not going off to Rio de Janeiro.
Yes, you're not,
with
you
the
know,
money.
on the millions
Yes.
of dollars that
And the
the
millions,
membership has,
yes. Mhm.
that you're not going off.
Right, Joanne,
Yeah.
while
Funding your retirement with it.
Joanne, while you have the floor, I'm not quite sure I understand your question. Can copies of the budget info be printed off the website?
Yeah,
Can you clarify that?
Let's see, you showed us some information, and I was wondering if that information, if it's on a website, can it be printed? And I'm sure it can.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
there's,
something like this.
Like that, yeah, the statement
Yeah.
of activities. I'd love to have that.
Yeah,
And-
you can. This will be on the website, and you can click on it and print it.
Okay, and that's the California website or the
Yes.
national?
All of
Okay.
all of our documents for our California peer group sessions are on the
Or on
California website.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Got
we
it.
take information from National's website and we address it. And
Okay.
in fact, if you went on the Branch Tools Finance, not the peer group section, which has information from the peer group
Okay.
recordings and documents, but we'll actually go in and say, if like for membership, it'll have links to Hub and all their
okay.
training. So if you
Okay.
wanted to get there and get right to it, going onto the AUW California website and going into the Branch Tools, Finance, and the membership section, you can click through the Hub and
Okay.
have access to that information. And before each session that we have, because we go through membership and we make sure those links are working and we're getting through to it. And unless they changed it in the last couple of weeks, it's
Right.
worked.
Okay.
Well, I also believe that these spreadsheets are in the Branch Tools Finance section.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a sort of an overview of how to do branch accounting. And so
Yes.
and Ronnie, I think, took those from there.
And
there-
that comes off the tools section of the California.
Branch
Yeah,
Tools Finance, yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So there's
Okay.
2 places. You have Branch Tools, you can come into Finance, just click on Finance, you're within Branch Tools, Finance,
Right.
and you see the Finance section of the website and the various topics, and you can click on those. Then
Good.
you can also
Okay.
go Branch Tools Peer Groups and then hit Finance again, and you're getting the Finance Committee peer group sessions.
And
Okay.
Kathy, I believe there were also 2 webinars on how to deal with the Hub.
Yes.
The search
Yes.
engine at the California State website is robust.
Yeah.
There is a little magnifying glass all the way up at the top, and you
Okay.
can put in whatever you want to put in, and
Yeah.
you will come with come up with a bunch of different options
Perfect.
to look at.
Perfect, thank you.
There
Thank
are
you.
two
Yeah.
hands, I see.
Yes, but let me finish a couple of the earlier ones and then we'll come back to the people with hands raised. There were a number about the timeline for the state dues. So the email that went out on the 27th of March, so just has gone out announcing the election. And that the votes will start to be counted. It'll be open for business on the 26th of this month, and it will close on the 16th of May. So two things, we have to have the required number of people vote in order to have a quorum, which I believe is 5%, is that right?
Yeah.
And then if it passes, then, you know, how it will be implemented and when it will actually show up on the hub, we're not quite sure about that, but we have to get through the passing it first, I think is the key. So,
True.
sorry, Sharon, was that you?
No, it was not, but it is indeed true that it needs to be passed.
Yeah,
And then it will be sent to national and they will update the hub.
Yes,
right.
yes, that is
Okay.
true.
Right, but my understanding is that the first notices for the, you know, the majority of members whose membership is going to be expiring on the 30th of June, that they'll start getting reminders in May.
But if people pay now, they can avoid the extra $10 dues.
Aha, very good. So there you go. So there's a bonus for people who want to renew early. Okay, now let's see. Karen Dennis, I see your hand. There she goes.
I wanted to respond about the person wanting to find a treasurer in the her branch.
Yeah,
I was
that's
going to
me.
say I was told I couldn't leave unless I found a replacement. And they thought they were trying to tell me it was in the bylaws, so I'm searching that. Be that as it may,
It may be in the bylaws, but slavery's been out for some time.
well, yes. And the thing is that my advice is you have leverage when it comes to this point, because I do not think that I'm going to be able to give it up, though I said I would like to, because I want to have my friends back. Right now, I have a personality change. I've gone from, yes, let's spend it, let's do it, to, what do you mean you want to stamp? So
Oh dear.
you do undergo a change. But one of the things that I think because of this, I really do need help. I thought I could just get a co-treasurer, and she started to cry at midterm. I tried to get her on webinars and stuff, and it was just too much. What I think I'm going to do this summer is make maybe a 5-page a branch kind of thing, because I said I only write 7 checks. It's not a big deal.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, to have the dates. But of course, I'm the one that got the delinquency notice because it was before the treasurer. And you said how easy it was to go online and go on. Well, it wasn't for me. I took 6 months and they told me not to keep bugging them until about maybe 4 months. Anyway, we're fine. We did it. But it's really perseverance. But right now, what I'm going to do is negotiate. Somebody has to do parts of it for me. We don't have to use the word co-treasurer, but the responsibility, I need somebody to come up and help.
Okay.
And I think I will be able to do this. I agree. It's not a big thing to do. It's just that it seems so scary.
Yes.
I just found out tonight, what do you mean bank statements have to be 7 years? I was thinking it was 3 or 4. Fortunately, I'm a pack rat, and you'd be surprised my 5 boxes of documents. So I'm going to go back to scanning yet again
Mhm,
and
mhm.
not put things in the safety deposit box because I don't think anybody would go down there in my branch. But I am a big believer in doing things with flash drives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joanne, don't give up
I'm not.
and just know you're doing a good thing.
you are.
Okay. Well, the thing is that I want to be treasurer for the next 2 years. Yeah,
Oh,
I don't want to give it up.
oh, good.
And so it would be, I will go 2 consecutive terms is what
Yeah,
I'll
there you
do.
go.
And
Yeah.
it'll be legal. And I'll be happy and they certainly will.
They definitely
And-
will.
Yeah, because I've been a treasurer of my church for 15 years prior to this. So
Great.
this is nothing.
Oh, no, it's not that. It's not that hard, except when you start giving the reports at the branch meetings, et cetera, eyes sort of roll.
Oh, yes.
And they
Yeah.
think,
Yes,
how do you do this? And I just want to say, I have a template and I
Yeah.
change it every month. It's not, I mean, I don't come up with all of this all the time.
I
Right,
know. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think
Most of the-
it's helpful when you're saying, you know, I'm not disappearing from the face of the earth, so I
Right.
can walk you through it. I can help
That's
you
true.
the first time you've done anything, and I can create a document that tells you what you're going to do each month and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's the end of the year stuff
Yeah.
that causes the most problems with the financial officer at AAUW.
Yeah.
Because there's all those IRS things that you got to fill out and mail in with the proper check and all that stuff, and that's what they don't want to do.
Mhm.
Well, as somebody pointed out, you know, we're not being very encouraging of some of the people on this webinar that might be new in the job. It's not impossible. You know,
That's
co-branchers can really help. I know some branches have one person that really just focuses on the membership aspect, and another
Yes.
person does everything. And certainly looking at your term limits and terms. And I have to say, I am co-president of my branch right now, and that has made a real difference because
Yes.
I knew that I couldn't take the whole job, and my co-president similarly. So we're finding that to be very effective. Vanessa, we don't want to miss you. You've got your hand up.
Yes, you didn't answer my question about the Shape the Future code you had on the slide. I think it's missing a letter.
It's
All,
Received letter.
all the
Shape the
others end with an FY 26. This one just has
see.
FF 26.
I think I took that from, but from the membership matters, but maybe not. I will double check that. So
Yeah, what we'll do if she finds it is FY, because I've seen that in the past too, unless they've changed it. I think Carol didn't.
and
you
it is on this. And
copied
it is.
it? You did a cut and paste.
I
So,
think I thought I did, but maybe
Yeah.
not. So
but we'll
maybe they
check
typed it wrong,
and
but I
we'll
see the
make
other-
sure the correct one is on the
Yeah.
slide deck that is posted to the
Right.
website.
Yeah,
Okay, 'cause
thank
the
you.
other ones all end with an FY 26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but the 26 is that's because it's now going to be applying to the new members who are joining are going to be going for the next fiscal year.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Did we miss anything else?
While you're
The
looking,
chief-
Carol, let me mention that my feeling is whoever takes on whatever responsibility, you should also be training the next person who will take
Absolutely.
your place.
Yep.
So that is, get a friend.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and that I think that's one of the things where a can work very well. Somebody mentioned, kind of like an apprenticeship that
Mhm.
you can step in and then step up. Janet asked, can dues reminders be specific to individual members and not to every member of the branch? I believe it's all or nothing. That they will, certainly be happy not to send the reminders, but if they are sent, they're going to be to all of the members of the branch. And right below that, we have that I think Kathy made it clear, this PowerPoint will be part of all the information that's on that peer group section. So you'll have the recording, you'll have the PowerPoint, and you'll have the documents that Sharon shared regarding the dissolving branches.
And, the pamphlet that covers all the combination of branches goes over the various ways branches can combine, or if one branch is dissolving and members go over to an existing branch, or if two branches combine and then their new branch is going to have a different name or combined name, the name change requirement, it goes over all of that. But
Right.
the most important part of that, it's saying contact AUW California branch support to walk you through the process.
Absolutely.
And you're talking about the documents. Here's a key case where the state is actually saving those documents and controlling them and maintaining them to help you through that process and get it to national.
But
So
in
that's
an electronic fashion.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a lift. But, I think being able to source the state for controlling, in excess of 100 branches documents, I'd have to ask Michelle.
Right.
How do you feel about that, Michelle?
Yeah.
Kathy, while you have the floor here, could you go back to the slide that talked about how to get a copy of the 990N?
Yeah.
We can see that again.
Oh, of course.
Here is this one right here. And this is the IRS. Remember, 990s and determination letters are federal. So your site is here. So if you copied this and pasted, you're going to get to that screenshot that I showed you. And this is the one that has the determination letter, the 990N, and multiple other databases. So you just put in the database you want. You click on the database you want. They're all drop-down menus, and then you select 990. Once they've identified, they've selected you and found your branch, they'll give you, you can select from any of the 990s they have posted.
Is the California people going to do it again for the branches that request it?
You mean the national?
The national
will,
yeah.
Yes, national will, absolutely. So if you remember, that has a slightly different deadline.
Right.
You got to get it in a month earlier. So the 11/15 is the due date if you're filing it directly. But if you want national to do it, you go on Hub and go through the tax issues, tax items, and it'll pop up. Do you want us to file your 990N? So you would select yes, and the various other questions that they ask you there, and they will, once you submit it, they will confirm that yes, we're going to do it.
Yeah, they did that for us last year.
Yes, the first time I did this several years ago, going over that particularly, I always put that the easiest way to file your 990N.
Yeah,
exactly.
Not so easy way, just to ask national to do it, and the not so easy way, you go online, you do it yourself. So,
Dale has.
Yeah.
Okay, we're past our time here, so let's quickly. Dale, I see your hand up.
Yeah, if you're going to fix this, I believe one of your earlier slides said the new dues, if passed for state, would go in effect on June 1st. Not July 1st.
I said if it does, that would be the earliest they could put it in, because people who are signing up on
June. That's not the fiscal year.
No. It's just what you're paying for is largely the new fiscal year.
Okay, because I thought later we were talking about they'd have to get in by the end of June, and it would change on July 1st. That said June 1st, and I found that confusing.
Yeah, I know it is kind of confusing because of the concept. Remember, particularly, it's an issue when we're recognizing revenue for the state level.
Yeah.
Since the bulk of the revenues are still coming in, most renewals are occurring in the, as you know, expiring June 30th. But if you pay in the middle of June, you're not paying for the old fiscal year. We wouldn't charge that revenue and say that we're crediting that revenue to fiscal year into 24. We put it in deferred revenues and flip it over to the next year. And we begin that with dues received beginning April 1. So
Yes,
conceptually,
yes.
you've got 12 months of membership for those dues.
That's
So we're just
right.
saying anything paid in the last quarter of the year is largely for the next year. So it's
Next
recognized
year.
that way. So
I'm-
that's
my
the same
concern
thing.
is communicating this, because in order to communicate this, let's say in our case, in our newsletter, we're
Mhm.
going to have the old form and it's going to have it at 10. 'Cause-
Yeah.
And then we
at
won't
20?
have time to get that in that 14 days to get this out to everybody, to change that from 20 to 30 should it pass. And that's my concern.
Yeah, you're concerned. Well, I can talk about that. We have a meeting this Sunday and probably have some discussion. This is the quarterly board meeting. It meets every month, but every quarter in the month following is more extensive. And we can discuss how we wanted to do that. I was just trying to put something to give everybody a heads up after talking to the president. And I thought, well, that would be the earliest time we would start charging that.
I think we can
Okay.
hear that you know, first of all, it has to pass, and then the determining how it's going to be implemented and you know,
Yeah,
communicating
this
that
I think
clearly.
it has to pass first, yeah.
Yeah, it has to pass, you know, the votes have to
$10
be
is a
counted.
little bit high.
And it has to be, you know, it's already been discussed with National, but they've got to actually get it in the system. If they can't get it in before July 1st, guess what?
All right, as long
It's gonna be
as the
charged with what's
branch
in Hub. Yeah,
does not get stuck with collecting 20 and have to pay 30.
no,
$10 per person is a
no.
lot of money.
Yeah, it's only going to be what they get into Hub and what Hub
Okay.
collects and what we receive.
Okay.
So if you're,
Right.
you know, in that period, I'm sure there's a lot of grace. We're not going to go back to a branch treasurer and say, you got to go
Okay.
collect $10 from everybody.
There will be another.
Okay, let's get the last two hands here. Vanessa, you're back?
No, I take mine down.
Okay, Laura, you're back now. Laura, did you?
I don't think she ever took her hand down.
The increase in state dues, so if people were to go in May, okay, to self-renew, they will only see the current state dues, which is $20.
That's
Correct.
correct.
Anything that's new will come in after June 30th.
Right, correct.
Okay,
And someone
just
was
wanna-
suggesting, quick, go renew your membership. So
Yeah.
Don't be part of the carryover, the grace period.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
just-
trying to give the board an idea when I do the preliminary budget. I'm trying to estimate how many dues will actually come in at the new rate. And it's a transition period. It's going to be a mix.
Yeah,
yeah, it's,
yeah.
you know, I use this theory in my personal life because I just bought a new induction stove and I figured I'm getting it now and not worry about the tariffs, right?
Yeah.
That's a very good one.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well,
Okay.
I'm also doing something, yeah, like that.
Yes. So we will be, I'll, you know, go over the questions again and we'll try and put an organized document, you know, kind of gathering things together as we've done in the past. And a lot of great ideas shared. Someone wanted to know if there was a list of all the treasurers. And I would say, first of all, I have trouble keeping track of our own board list because somebody moves, somebody, you know, has to resign. So I think that, but one suggestion I would make is that if you see somebody on these webinars that you think, wow, that was a great idea, follow up with them.
You can actually go into the branch directory on the AUW California website. If you go in to directory and you look at branch directory, and let's say, well, I wrote down the name at the peer group session. So I'm just going to put their name in. You could say, well, their treasurer and put in the name and see if it pops up.
Great.
the rest of the
Yeah.
information, including, it would include the email, et cetera.
Yeah, great. Very helpful.
Okay, then,
Well, thank you all very much for joining again.
And I want to thank Sharon for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, and thank you so much for all your hard work and getting all these questions answered.
thank
You're
you.
welcome.
ঘুমিয়েই পড়েছে আচ্ছা
All right.
I always have trouble trying to figure out where did this chat go? So it's here somewhere.
You should, yeah, you should get an email. Usually when I close it, it's going to say, here's a script, and then I've emailed it to you. We have chat. So this is the whole thing in here. But
whole thing is there, you know.
yeah, and then usually as soon as I shut down, I close the meeting, I get, here's your chat.
Oh, okay.
I get it, you know, electronic
Okay, well,
file.
Maybe it said it saved it, but I'm not going back and finding it anywhere. So if you could send it to me, that would be great.
Yeah, it should. So I will just forward that on to you when I get it.
Yeah.
That's happened every time I've shut that down if it's been used.
How was, I think today's session was good, but not like the last one. Last
Yeah.
one was very interesting.
Yes, yeah, we had so many questions and people staying late, so that was good. But I thought we covered enough topics, so.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The issue is
Yeah.
they think they're just not going to have to do it.
One person that answered quite a few questions in the chat is Bev Van Sitters from Glendale.
Oh, yeah.
So I made a note of that because I think that, you know, she might be an approachable
Yes.
person.
Oh,
But she was sending answers to people. She did about 3 answers.
I saw that. I saw the
Yeah.
direct.
okay, then.
So